Alright guys, another week and we are back for some more Championship transfer rumours. Plenty to dive into today, both in terms of the done deals that have gone through recently and the new transfer rumours which are going around the Championship. As always, if we do miss off any in today's video, make sure to get them in the comments down below and I'll try to give them a mention in the next video. Also as well, a quick call to action. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to go ahead and hit that button. The support you guys have been showing on these videos of late has been absolutely fantastic, so massively appreciate that. But without any further ado, let's get into some of the stories. We'll start out with some managerial news. We've seen Scott Parker heading to Burnley. We did speak about this one in a little bit more detail in last time's video, so if you want to get more thoughts on Scott Parker, check out last time's video. But it has since been confirmed and a little bit conflicted on this one. I think like most people probably will be. Parker already has 2 Championship promotions on his CV, but there are a few red flags that come along with him relating to style of play, his temperament sometimes, and how his time at both Fulham and Bournemouth ultimately ended. But if you were to ask me right now, do I think Scott Parker will get Burnley into the top 6 next season as a bare minimum? I probably do, if I'm being honest with you. And ultimately, that's the aim of the game, isn't it? So, Parker to Burnley. I'm interested to see how that unfolds over the course of the season. But Burnley fans, I'd certainly welcome your thoughts in the comments down below. We also saw Southampton signing Swansea defender Nathan Wood in the end for a fee of around about £3 million, I believe. Middlesbrough also set to bank a decent chunk of change from this deal as well, as they had a sell-on clause inserted within the deal. Now, a bit of a weird one, all things considered, especially since Swansea turned down an offer of around £10 million just last summer from Southampton. They've landed him for significantly cheaper this time around. Definitely a player with potential. By no means the finished article right now, though. I'm not sure how ready he is to be thrown into Premier League football at this stage of his career, but I'm interested to see how that deal unfolds. We've seen Oxford signing AFC Wimbledon fullback Jack Curry on a long-term contract. It is a big step up to make from League 2 to the Championship, but clearly a player with a lot of potential at just 21 years old. He impressed in League 2 last season, and we've already seen Oxford going after a few youngsters during this window so far, haven't we? We've also seen Michael Preston North End getting some business done with Sam Greenwood, the first arrival of this transfer window. He joins on a season-long loan deal from Leeds United, but quite crucially, Preston do have the option to buy inserted within the loan deal. Now, Greenwood obviously spent last season on loan with Middlesbrough. Definitely had moments of flashes, but was sort of in and out of that starting 11 throughout the season, wasn't he? He scored 5 goals and got 3 assists, can play in an array of different positions. You'd probably say best role is in that number 10 position, and I'd imagine he'd be a Ben Woodburn replacement, and certainly stacking those 2 players up against each other, Greenwood is an obvious upgrade in that department. Not sure whether or not he'd go straight into the starting 11 at North End, but certainly as an impact player from the bench maybe, someone that's a nice rotation option with the likes of Holmes and Mads especially. I'm on board with that deal. We also saw QPR signing Bayern Munich defender Liam Morrison, and I'm a big fan of this deal. He spent last season on loan with Wigan Athletic in League 1, where on the whole he impressed, just 21 years old as well, and the fact that QPR have got him on a permanent basis, I think that could turn out to be a really bit of tidy business from QPR there. QPR have also signed Brazilian fullback Heverton Santos, who's coming over from Portugal. He's 23 years old and stands at 6 foot and made 29 appearances in the top flight of Portuguese football last season. We spoke about Rocco Vata in the last Championship transfer rumour roundup video, but his move to Watford has since been confirmed. Watford due to pay Celtic a compensation fee for the 19-year-old, but definitely excited to see how he gets on over these next few years. Definitely a long-term signing, that one. Another tidy bit of business from Sheffield Wednesday here, as they have signed James Beadle on loan for the season. Did well with the Owls last time around, and now they've added Beadle, who they've got back on loan. They've got Ben Hamer in at the goalkeeper department as well this summer. That Wednesday squad really is starting to take shape now ahead of next season. Sheffield United have got the ball rolling in terms of their transfer business with the arrival of Jamie Shackleton, who joins from Leeds United on a free transfer. The 24-year-old obviously very versatile, can play in a number of different positions. I think probably was in need of a new home where he's going to get maybe a little bit more regular game time. He'll be hoping to make that next step in his career with the Blades next season, I'm sure. And we saw Luton making their first signing of the summer as well, with the arrival of Shandon Baptiste, who arrives on a free transfer. Has spent the last 5 years with Brentford, where he made 78 appearances over that time frame. Most of his appearances at Brentford did come from the bench. He was never quite able to nail down a consistent starting spot during his time with the Bees. But I think the drop back down to the Championship will probably suit him. But there are some of the latest done deals which have gone through in the Championship. Now without any further ado, let's go into the rumours. It looks as if Japanese winger Yu Hirakawa is on his way to Bristol City. We've already seen Bristol City dipping into the foreign market during this transfer window so far, and it doesn't seem like they'll be slowing down with their intentions of looking overseas anytime soon. Quite like the look of this deal. He's definitely a player that's by no means the finished article, but definitely looks like he could get people off their seats in the Championship next season. He's 23 years old, play on either the right or left hand side. I think we're seeing more and more teams from England and Scotland starting to look into the Asian market, and I think there's real value to be had here, especially in the J-League. So that deal is expected to go through in the coming days. I'm quite excited to see him in a Bristol City shirt. Derby County have been among the clubs who have been linked with Leicester City goalkeeper Daniel Everson, who we would expect to leave the Foxes this summer. Doesn't look like he has a long-term future there at the King Power. He's 26 years old now, so really needs to be playing regular first-team football. He obviously spent the second half of last season out on loan with Stoke City. Stoke fans probably never saw the very best of Everson. I think that was more Preston fans during his few seasons there. If Derby were able to get this signing over the line, I think that one would be a real statement of intent. He's only got 1 year left on his deal at Leicester, so he probably wouldn't cost as much right now as he would have done a few years ago. And in terms of just pure shot-stopping ability, I do think he's got the potential to be one of the best in the Championship for that. My team, Preston North End, have had a big rejected for Peterborough's Harrison Burrows, obviously one of the most in-demand players from League One right now, and after having the bid rejected, it's not expected that Preston will follow up with another offer. I suppose the positive to spring from this, from a Preston point of view, is that we definitely have money to spend this summer if we were willing to shell out a decent amount of money on Burrows. Obviously, on last time's video, we spoke about Sheffield United's interest in the Peterborough star, and at this point, it does seem as if that's his most likely destination right now. But one deal which Preston do look to be getting over the line is one for Stefan Thordarsson. Very excited to see him in the Championship next season. The likes of Derby and QPR have also been heavily linked with the Icelandic midfielder, but going off the recent reports, it seems as if Preston might have pipped those two clubs to his signature. He's a 25-year-old Icelandic international who spent the last 4 years playing in Denmark, and this is definitely a market that Preston have had some real success with in recent years, looking into the Danish league, obviously, with the success we've had with both Mads Frokjær and Emil Riis. He's a midfielder who definitely has an eye for goals, scored 11 goals last season, and given the news of Brown's departure, it looks as if he'll be coming in to fill that sort of role, with Preston expected to pay a transfer fee of around about £600,000 for the midfielder. We've got a very interesting transfer story relating to Ryan Giles right now. The defender only recently completed his permanent move to Hull City, but he's already been linked with an exit from the club, with Middlesbrough said to be interested. Now, Giles spent the second half of last season on loan with Hull, and involved in that deal was the obligation for Hull to purchase him for around about £4 million. It took a little bit of time until the deal was made official, but the other week Hull did announce that sign-in. But are they about to flip him in this transfer window? It could happen. Now, I think it's fair to say that Giles, in the second half of last season for Hull, we didn't really see the best version of him. I definitely think there's an argument to be made, though, that with Hull changing managers, they're going to be playing a new system next season. That could get a lot more out of Giles going forward at Hull. With that being said, Hull might be wary that they weren't able to get the best out of him last season, and Middlesbrough definitely were. We probably saw Giles at his very best during his last loan spell with Boro, in fact. As of recording, it's thought that Middlesbrough are said to be preparing a bid. Nothing official has gone in yet, but it's definitely a story to keep your eye on over these next few days for sure. Millwall have been pretty quiet in this transfer window up until this point, but they could be about to make their first signing, with a deal being agreed for Notts County forward Coy Langstaff. The deal being in the region of £700,000, and this could be a hell of a deal that Millwall are getting here. There have been countless Championship and League One clubs that have been chasing his signature over these past few years now, but it does appear as if Millwall could have won the race for his signature. Now, how he makes that step up from League Two to the Championship, we'll have to wait and see. It is an absolutely massive jump. But in the last 2 seasons for Notts County, the guy scored 71 goals in 97 appearances. So even if there will be, a drop-off of him moving to the Championship, he really could still be a very productive striker for them. And at only £700,000 as well, if that fee is to be believed, I'd say this is a deal definitely worth taking the gamble on. Obviously, with a striker coming in, it's expected that one will go out, and that man does appear to be Tom Bradshaw. We spoke about a little bit of Championship interest in the Welsh forward last time, and it's now been reported that Wrexham could be the side to win his signature this summer. Along with being in for Tom Bradshaw, they're also said to be in the race for Wes Harding as well, so could potentially complete a double swoop for the Millwall duo. Obviously, with how ambitious Wrexham tend to be, we expect them to be in the market for a few sort of Championship players like Bradshaw, and I think he did really well in League One actually. It's pretty clear that Kieffer will be leaving Bournemouth this summer. He's now into the final year of his contract with the Cherries, but where will he end up? Well, both Sheffield United and Cardiff are being linked with the Welsh striker. Feels like, without fail, every transfer window Cardiff are linked with Kieffer, but he's definitely a striker worth keeping tabs on. Obviously, spent the second half of last season out on loan with Ipswich, helped them get over the line in their promotion bid in the end, and I'm still a massive fan of Kieffer, I have to admit. I think he's a really useful striker, especially at Championship level. I think he's a real handful for defenders, brilliantly in aerial duels, but also good with his feet as well and at stretching a back line. I think for either of those clubs being linked, it'd be a really good option for them. Where next for Ollie McBurney? After being let go by Sheffield United, he's been linked with a few clubs of late. We previously spoken about the links to Turkey that the Scottish forward has had, but it's now been reported that Stoke City could be in the race to sign him. Now, on a free transfer, McBurney at Championship level, probably a gamble worth taking. He is a very hot and cold striker though, isn't he? It wasn't that long ago that he went a full Championship season without scoring for Sheffield United, wasn't it? In total for the Blades, he scored 29 goals in 5 seasons, obviously a few of those being at Premier League level. 28 years old now, I'd expect quite a few Championship clubs to be in the race for him, but Stoke the latest club I've seen linked. Once again, we're seeing Crystal Palace winger Jezran Raksaki being linked with a loan move to the Championship. He had that loan spell at Charlton a couple of years ago now where he absolutely was tearing things up, where he got 15 goals and 8 assists. It's thought that next stage of his development probably will come in the form of a Championship loan move, and we're currently seeing the likes of Sheffield United, QPR and Luton Town, among others, being linked with the 21-year-old. There's been plenty said about Jaden Philogene this summer. The Hull City winger won't be moving to Barcelona despite the reported interest. Instead, it does look like a move to the Premier League will be on the cards. As of recording, he's got proposals on the table from Crystal Palace, Ipswich and Everton, and it looks as if these next few days could be quite decisive in Philogene choosing his club and Hull City negotiating the final deals with those sides that are interested. Honestly, I think this is probably the right step for his career, joining probably a lower mid-table sort of Premier League side where he will get that regular first-team football, but he's definitely earned that crack after how good he was in the Championship last season. Hull will obviously be in line to bank a huge profit on the player they only signed last summer as well. After spending the last decade with Leeds United, it does seem as though Liam Cooper will be moving on this summer, with no new deal currently being agreed between Leeds and Cooper. Honestly, think it's probably the correct decision that Cooper does move on. It is an emotional one, obviously, with him being at the club for so long, and I certainly get the intangibles that he'll bring to that dressing room in terms of leadership experience and things like that. Last season in the Championship, though, he didn't get that much of a look in. He only started in 8 Championship matches, and I think that when he was in the starting 11, there was an obvious drop-off compared to Cooper and those other players that he would be coming in for. Other Championship clubs are thought to be interested in the 32-year-old, and I think a move elsewhere where he'll get that regular game time, probably the best thing for both parties right now. It's been well documented that Blackburn will be after a new first-choice goalkeeper this summer, and they're now being linked with Luton Town's Tim Kroll. Obviously, the goalkeeper would bring a wealth of experience to Rovers. Didn't play that much last season for Luton, did he? He was very much their second choice, but I do happen to think that that would be a solid deal for Blackburn if they were able to get this sort of deal over the line. It's currently being reported that Blackburn would need to offer Kroll a bit more of an attractive financial package to attract him to the club than what they've currently put on the table. But I'm sure we'll get a few more developments on that story over these next few days. But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and get all your thoughts in the comments down below. Plenty going on in the Championship right now in terms of transfer activity. Your best place to stay informed is here on the channel, so make sure to subscribe if you've not already. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.